Welcome to the ChargePoint podcast, brought to you by FlexiCharge, your gateway to the future of EV charging. In each episode, we dive deep into the world of EV infrastructure, offering insights and perspectives from industry leaders, innovators, and the people at the forefront of deploying charging solutions and networks. Join us to explore the exciting developments that are accelerating our world towards sustainable mobility.
Welcome back to the ChargePoint podcast, the place where we plug into the future of mobility 1 kilowatt at a time. Today, we're going big, and I mean megawatt big. Our guest is Moritz Vornfeld from Kempower, segment owner for fleets, EV veteran, strategic thinker, and possibly the best sounding guest I've had on the show, thanks to his home music studio setup. But we're not here to talk soundtracks. We're here to talk semi-trucks, Megawatt Charging Systems, and the future of heavy-duty transport. If you're wondering why truck charging is suddenly everywhere, or why people are throwing around acronyms like MCS as if it's the new rockstar of charging, buckle up. This is the episode for you. Moritz takes us behind the scenes of Kempower's push into the truck segment, breaks down what MCS really means, and why it's more than just a ridiculously huge plug. We explore how long-haul electrification is unfolding, the massive infrastructure challenges ahead, and how Europe, the US, and China are each charting their own path. We even dive into grid constraints, depot electrification, and what it's really going to take to move from CCS to MCS without chaos. Spoiler alert, it's going to take collaboration between charger manufacturers, OEMs, operators, and yes, load, energy, and grid management specialists. So whether you are a CPO, a fleet manager, or curious about how 40-ton trucks are going to quietly hum down highways in the next 5 years, this one's for you. Let's get into it. Here's my conversation with Moritz from Kempower. Welcome, Moritz.
Thank you, Christophe. Good to be here. Thank you.
Why don't we start, as always, with all my guests, you giving us a bit of your background, your backstories that led you to the position where you are today.
Mm-hmm. My pleasure. So, I'm from Hamburg, Germany, originally. Studied business there in a frame of a dual study system, so to say. That means combining practice and studies in 3-month cycles. Worked there for the company that I did those studies with basically for 5 years. That was in machine trading. So I had the pleasure to be a lot around Asia and stayed there for 5 years. Then changed into direct sales, switched into the software industry. I'm pretty sure you're very familiar with that. Mm-hmm. Went to Amsterdam 2017. Started working in software there, and then in 2019 came this question of purpose. Really, I don't know. Maybe you've had that as well in your career, but one day waking up and thinking, okay, let's do something that leaves, let's say, footprint a little bit, and the possibility to make a change really in this world. And then I started working for a company called VeriCity, now today known as ChargePoint, or part of ChargePoint, because it was bought by ChargePoint later, and sold telematic systems and ChargePoint management systems for electric bus fleets there. And that was really the first time that I got in touch with e-mobility as such, and also fleets. Did that for some years, and then changed to a company called TSG, and that's a turnkey solution provider for electric mobility. So switching a little bit from the software side of electric mobility to the all-in solution approach, if you want. And
we will at the audience who wants to know more TSG. We had Chris DX from TSG Benelux a couple of episodes ago to talk about the Belgian market. So Absolutely.
Oh, that's right. I still know Chris. Okay. Shout out to Chris at this point. That was the first time that I got in touch with the strategic aspect also of building, let's say, the strategy for electric vehicles, electric heavy duty vehicles and electric fleets. Was there for some time. And then since 2023 now, 2022 actually, all right. So it's going to be 3 years this year. Part of Kempower as the segment owner for fleets, that's called. And before Kempower, I had no idea what a segment owner is, but we organize ourselves a little bit like we have regional sales, obviously, and then we have customer segments. And one of those segments, obviously, is fleets. For Kempower, that means bus and truck, essentially. And my responsibility here now since 2022 is to build out the segment, understand the market. Let's say, we always used to say while our sales guys are there in the, let's say, trenches and obviously going after the project, I'm trying to keep the overview a little bit and bit on the outlook and trying to make sure that we as a company go into the right direction there in terms of product market fits, but go-to-market strategy, all of that. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So I guess you feed in some requirements to the roadmap also to help give some shape the direction.
That's right. Exactly. And obviously today's topic, megawatt charging, feeds into that as well. It landed early on my table as part of the, let's say, truck focus that we started to have 2 years ago. Yeah.
Great. We'll hear more of that. So I think most of the audience, if not everybody, is familiar to the name, the company Kempower. But let's hear it a bit from you. So, how would you present the company for those who might not know it?
Right. So we're a pretty young company, actually. Started business in 2018 only. Part of the Kempi family, which is a big, or Kempi Group, which is a big company group in Finland. We're a Finnish company. And that Kempi Group basically has 50, 60 years of experience in DC technology, DC power technology. So I think around 2017, the thought was, okay, if that technology is so close to EV charging, let's use that know-how and build a EV charging company out of that. And so since 2018, we're at the market now, manufacturing EV or fast charging solutions, headquartered in Lahti, which is around 1 hour from Helsinki. I think, like I said, the big focus since 2022 now is, or 2021, 22 is the truck segment. We supply chargers for that segment, but as well as for public charging in the passenger car vehicle segment. Market leader in the Nordics, and now expanded also in the last couple of years very quickly, actually, to North America, Australia. We have offices around the world now. And it's been, as you can imagine, with this market uptake in the last couple of years, it's been a really crazy ride, I have to say. I started 2022, like I said, I was number 350. There's people who claim proudly still today they're number 3 or 5 or 10. Those are the real veterans in the company. But nowadays we're 800 people, and that gives you a good idea of how quickly we've grown in the last year. So.
That's fantastic. But that's just a manifestation. Yeah, that shows the growth of the industry, and surely Kempower as a leader takes a lion's share of that growth. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let's dive into the topic. So why is truck charging such an important topic right now?
I mean, maybe to zoom out a little bit, I was talking about the purpose before, and I think that's really key point in part of the truck electrification that. I've listened to some shows of you before, and there was already the talk about the share of CO2 emissions that trucks have, right? We talk about, I did my research before, and I concluded to 6 to 7% of global emissions are because of trucks. So from my perspective, first of all, that's a low hanging fruit, right? If we can electrify trucks, then we can take that global emission share significantly down already. So now, why is it taking off now? I think a couple of reasons. First of all, the technology has advanced massively, as we all know. Battery technology has become better. Charging technology, of course, has become better. So now it's just feasible, let's say, since a couple of years to charge and operate electric trucks. And the other point is approaching TCO parity. So total cost of ownership, I think, is a big topic for logistics operators today. And there we have made big jumps. I think electric trucks are still significantly more expensive than let's say diesel trucks. But we're getting there. Just recently, I saw that the European Union is exempting, let's say, electric trucks from road tolls until 2031. And of course, all these topics feed into this TCO parity that we're slowly approaching. That definitely helps. And then last but not least, of course, the legislation. Right? I mean, we have pretty tight regulations now in Europe nowadays for CO2 reduction for electric or for trucks in general. Truck manufacturers need to reduce CO2 emissions by 45% by 2030. So that's 5 years from now. And that just absolutely blows my mind because it's a very short amount of time that we have to achieve that, or also for the OEMs. And if they can comply with that, then just recently talked to some OEMs about it again, then they are facing heavy fines. So there is this legislative pressure or drive also to electrify trucks now, and that's why this timeline that we have right now is pretty short to achieve that. And that's just, like I said, that keeps amazing me because it just projects that obviously this segment will take off heavily until 2030. And that also means that for us as Kempower, we expect this truck segment specifically to be the biggest one in 5 years.
Yeah. We'll take note of that, and let's catch up in 5 years and see if you are right. I would probably also bet some of my money on this. Absolutely, yeah. I think it's an inflection point where you're reaching out, which you mentioned with the TCO, with the maturation of the technologies. So, but from here, so what's the upcoming evolution in truck electrification that you see rolling out in 25, 26? What are the maybe missing pieces? I think which needs to improve so we can really accelerate.
Right. I mean, we had this. So let's go a step back. We have an amazing guy in our team. His name is Abdul. He's our, let's say, market intelligence officer, if you will. And he does all these projections also for us. So he basically calculates like how much is this market going to take off for us. And that's also why I said it's going to be the biggest segment for us. So we expect in 2030, because of this, or we don't expect, but there could be up to 500,000 electric trucks by 2030. And like I said, this discrepancy is just so huge between now and that in 5 years. It's
And do you remember, I heard a figure, is it 10,000, 15,000 now, or what is it? We are only in Europe.
I think, something around that. I think I just saw the recent numbers for Q1 also of this year, that we have like maybe around 2,000 new truck registrations in electric truck registrations in Europe. So bottom line, we're very far away from that still. And that's what I meant, is like this gap is so huge to fill in 5 years. Long way to go. So I think what's the evolution, and how do we get there in a way? We need to look at the use cases first of all. 60% of trucking activity in Europe is below 400 kilometers. So that gives us an idea that most of the trucks are driving regional, local routes in a way. And that can be electrified today, right? And that was already was starting to electrify some years ago already. So that was really the first step I think that we saw, is that you have your trucks, they drive up to 300-400 kilometers, and you can charge them overnight. Pretty straightforward in a way. Now, what we saw in the last 1 or 2 years is this aspect of destination charging that was added to it. So that basically means truck is driving from A to B, and at the destination, basically it's using the time that it's there, loading, unloading, to charge up for the trip afterwards, basically. So that already gives us a big chunk of the market to electrify, and that's what we saw happening now. Now, of course, now we're approaching the topic of today a little bit, is what do we do with that last 10-15% of truck activity, and that's long haul trucking. And of course, now for this to happen, we need new technology. And I think that's the topic of today as well. We need technology that can enable this long haul to operate electric. And that requires, first of all, new technology in terms of charging, bigger batteries on the vehicle side. But of course, also the politics need to support this. And I think there we've seen now a big push also recently in terms of politics. We saw a lot of CPOs starting to build the long haul networks, basically. And I think that's really this last bit that we need as an industry in order to get to that 100% of electrification.
Yeah, right. And it's technology evolution. And as you said, some even hopefully growingly ambitious policies on European level, right? And I think, I have also another episode with Julia from RAP, which is a regulatory assistant project consultancy on policies, because that has to really happen in parallel. And but let's dive into the technology. So the MCS, the Megawatt Charging System, completely mind-blowing. The size of those guns, I remember the first time I saw it. It's completely amazing. We can barely carry it in two hands. So for those less familiar, what is it technically and practically when you talk about MCS?
Right, MCS, Megawatt Charging. The development started some years already by, let's say, a technology group called Charon, and they have been developing this new standard for truck charging in the last couple of years. And the idea is to create a charger with, that's why it's called Megawatt Charging, with a megawatt and more of power, which is also mind-blowing in my mind. It's just a lot of power. It's being pumped into a vehicle. And the idea, of course, here is to facilitate charging of electric trucks in a very short amount of time. And we just talked about this long-haul approach or long-haul need, basically, that we have. The idea here is trucks have regulatory driver breaks. After 4.5 hours, they need to have a break of 45 minutes. And in order to facilitate this long-haul trucking, basically, the idea is to charge the trucks in that regulatory driver break with up to a megawatt and charge it up sufficiently for the next part of the trip. So like I said, 1 megawatt of power, that obviously can spread now also to other use cases. Like I said, long haul is the original need, but the standards has other advantages as well. CCS, for example, is not is the common standard at the moment in EV charging. It's not standardized, for example, as in where is the outlet on the vehicle. So for trucks, however, that's really important also for CPOs now to plan the charging sites, etc. Here we have an advantage with this new standard, MCS, which says, for example, the outlet, the plug needs to be on the left-hand side of the vehicle. So through that standardization, it's easier also in the market for CPOs, for players like us to provide the infrastructure. And one last thing about this, it's just also a little bit of a disclaimer. Like this topic has been evolving so fast in the last couple of years. It's been consuming us also in Kempower. Got to be honest with that. 2 years, I think 2.5 years ago, the first CPOs knocked on our doors and were like, okay, we want to do this. We want to start implementing MCS. And since then, it's been an up and down, I have to say, because things change in such a speed that sometimes you need to readjust after half a year. There was a push into one direction, for example, for a certain communication protocol of the standard. And then after some time, the industry switched back and said, okay, let's do it a different way. And it's like we said, we have a limited amount of time to facilitate this complete electric trucking activity, so to say, and this why there was a lot of pressure here, I think. And whatever I say right now, that's my disclaimer. It could be it could be different in 3 or 4 months from now.
But because I heard different things again. about the fact that it's not released yet, or it's not really rolled out. It's not completely officialized. So as you said, there are still details to be nailed, right? So how much deployment has there been so far? I read somewhere about a station in Sweden with a Kempower MCS ready in 24. I mean, did you put some MCS on the ground already?
Yes. So first of all, to the standard, it's right. It's not, let's say, officially completed yet. However, I think the industry has come to a point where everyone agreed the remaining points that still need to be clarified here, and not diving into details now, but those remaining points will not affect the, let's say, design and the manufacturing process, so to say, of MCS chargers.
Okay.
So that's why we were ready as an industry at some point to say, okay, we can put them in the ground, and whatever comes, it's not going to affect the charger itself anymore. So we were then one of the first companies to announce the MCS launch, let's say, saying we're doing this. And since then, we have put, first chargers in the ground. We have installations now in Denmark, Sweden, and Norway, so to say, on our home turf a little bit. Mm-hmm. And now the interesting thing about this MCS, let's say, race really is that we obviously depend on different market players as well. So we are all dependent on each other. We as charging manufacturers, we can put chargers in the ground. However, now obviously it takes the OEMs as well to say, okay, we have developed the trucks sufficiently enough to release them with an MCS outlet. And I think only then the synergy and this whole ecosystem can come into place as a whole, and then we're able to charge those MCS trucks with our chargers. So long story short, they are in the ground and ready, so to say. But now we need to push also from the OEMs and the release of the vehicles so that we can do also long-term field testing and the likes. At the moment, a lot of that has been done in labs, and due to the lack of MCS vehicles in the market.
Yeah. So currently, when you see, I mean, I was at EVS 38 in Gothenburg, right? I mean, you see trucks that are charging with CCS, right? Mm-hmm. Still, that's what's happening, right? So what the most trucks out there, the Actros, the Volvo one, do they have two plugs, or they usually just have CCS for now?
Yeah, I think for now they still have CCS, but I think Scania just came out, actually, if I'm not mistaken, even on that show, and said that they will come out with the MCS vehicle next year. So I think a lot of things will change next year, also on OEM side. I guess for that time, and we'll come to that maybe later as well, to this transition time from CCS to MCS, it's absolutely important that they have both plugs. At least the European OEMs now, from our conversations, are going for this two-plug strategy, so to say. Interestingly enough, we see other markets also globally, for example, in North America, where there's, and I don't want to, put any hard facts into the ground now, but at least there's rumors that there might be OEMs coming out only with MCS also in the next 1 or 2 years. So there's a bit of a discrepancy, I'd say, in OEM strategy, but bottom line is MCS, CCS, both important. And next year, I think we'll see the real uptake of MCS in the market in terms of vehicles.
Okay, so if we try to kind of summarize a bit the challenges with the MCS and the transition, so there's technical one, which is still pending a bit, right? Mm-hmm. Then regulatory-wise, are there challenges on the regulation? Do you see some? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, it needs to be supported, right? That's what we've seen now. It's also what I touched upon before. Is like we are definitely, as an industry now, we're very much dependent on policies to push this, because the TCO is not where it needs to be at for logistic companies where margins are low to go electric in a way. So what we've seen now is legislations also that include this megawatt charging standard, and that's absolutely necessary. So big tenders now on national levels, where basically it's mandatory to have an MCS charger also in this and that distance from each other. So that's being pushed. That's the legislative side, like you said. Infrastructure needs to be in place. Consequently, that's the CPO's job then, of course. but also logistic companies who need to make this step now in a way and be brave and have the courage to say, okay, we're going for this new standard and want to support it.
Yep.
TCO I touched, and I think one important thing is also the grid aspect, of course, and I think that's also something that you are specifically familiar with your product offering, of course. That is something that I think it's still a little bit, up in the air, but because I've had conversations also with customers who say, like, where should this energy come from? I mean, megawatt is a lot of power, and we're already fighting in some countries with grid stability and available grid. So I think in order to facilitate the switch to MCS, we really need to rethink as an industry also EV charging and the sites and how they are built. Part of that definitely being integration of battery storage, direct integration of renewables. And of course, and that's also for us as a charger manufacturer, of course, a bit of a low-hanging fruit is like we need to be smart about the charging infrastructure itself, and we need to stop oversizing sites and say like we put the maximum amount of power here, absolutely. But we need to be able to be smart about this infrastructure, that we say, okay, we use the available power in the best possible way, we redirect it to where it's needed, and that of course goes to the charging infrastructure.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. That's definitely part of the picture is how can the grid follow, to go from CCS to MCS, It's a lot of challenges still ahead, Before we continue with the show, I have to tell you, if today's talk about megawatt charging and depot electrification has your head spinning with grid questions, you need to check out our free masterclass, The Power of Local Load Management. It's hosted by Robert, our CTO at FlexiCharge, and in just 30 minutes, he breaks down how to keep high-powered charging depots running smart, stable, and grid compliant. Watch it now at flexicharge.com/resources. And now, back to the show. So how does the European market differ from the US? You mentioned the US a bit, and I'm curious to hear a bit about your view on China. I think it's the place also to watch. I heard, I think I spoke with a spokesperson from Huawei back in Oslo at Nordic EV Summit. He was mentioning that pragmatically, they still haven't fully transitioned either. And though e-trucking is further ahead than in Europe, in China, but they're using 2 CCS plugs. So they're charging, sometimes he told me they just take 2 CCS to charge the truck faster. So where's the rollout of MCS, and is it going to be different in China? And what's the dynamic here?
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, first of all, China, we got to say, is far ahead. If we talk about these numbers that we have in Europe or North America right now, and also the goals by 2030, that's if I look at the chart compared to China, that is it's nothing really, right? Because they have advanced so much already in electrification, also truck electrification. And I got to say, there's a lot of technologies there that we haven't touched also yet. We talk about battery swapping, of course, new upcoming technologies, a lot of R&D into wireless charging, all of that. So they're quite active in China about that. We as Kempower, we focus for now with MCS on Europe and North America, just also because that I think goes for some other manufacturers as well. China, because of the landscape itself, their competitive landscape is out of reach for us. Yeah. We are in other markets in Asia and Australia, like I said, but this MCS focus now will, for us and for other market players, will start in Europe and North America. Mm-hmm. We see the first push for MCS here in Europe now with first couple of sites. I want a MCS here and there, and it's of course also a reputational game, right? And I think that's also I want to encourage my fellow market players and operators and CPOs to, like I said, have the courage and say, okay, I install this, and that gives me, of course, a reputational advantage as well as the opportunity to be in that market when it pops, which could be in the next 1 or 2 years. And then in North America, I think this is the other focus market of ours in a way. for this MCS standard now is a bit different. Trucking activity is different over there as well. More focus, a bit more focus on long haul. And like I said, the push from OEMs that could potentially, I'm just saying that, potentially go for MCS only. This could actually turn this market quicker, faster than Europe. We do see the first massive MCS sites actually being designed there now, with a lot of plugs for that upcoming transition. So that's a bit different, and I would say maybe there's a bit more drive even right now for MCS specifically than in Europe.
Interesting. Whereas, for me, it's such the cliche, the picture of the American truck, it's yeah. So much part, and I think you as a heavy music fan also, you see the truck with the monster flames, and it's something so powerful, so American that it can become silent and speedy and clean. It's also really a huge revolution. Let's see that happen. But I guess Tesla is pushing, has been on with the Semi for some years, right? And I'm not sure, it's always difficult. We know how it is with Elon Musk and his announcement and where they are, how many they were ready to spit out. I heard in production ramping up to amazing numbers, but in the end, where is Tesla? Maybe both on semis and maybe what's the latest news you heard on their charging station getting ready for MCS also?
Right. So, I mean, like you said, we got to be a bit cautious, just because I think there's a lot of hearsay and there's a lot of rumors, and that's why I don't want to, stick my neck out too much, too far out of the window here. But the bottom line is, Tesla has announced a semi coming out for potentially next year. Like you said, there's big production numbers behind that, and there is the let's say the rumor that they could go with MCS only, or at least let's say they will adopt MCS from the beginning. That we can say, I think. And consequently, they are driving the market at the moment there. What that means for their charging infrastructure, I can't say. Like I said, there's some smoke grenades here and there, and I definitely expect them to, just make sense, and also looking at their history of how they did things, that they provide some sort of charging infrastructure themselves. Details, how exactly that is going to be facilitated, is we just don't know yet. And like you said, we got to wait for next year and see, are they sticking to the timeline? And that's going to be decisive also for that truck and MCS market over there.
Absolutely, yeah, over there. And because I haven't really heard too much or seen any semis Tesla in Europe. Again, I'm not everywhere, but it's not like it's a common sight on the streets. And again, they've been so defining for the EV segment, for the passenger cars, that it feels like this time they're not. Well, they were out with the semi early, but then since then, it's been kind of forbidden dwelling. And let's see if they are an important component to boost the industry, as you said. So hopefully, we just wish, I guess, all as active players in the industry, that they wake up and also give a big push. So we just accelerate also the e-trucking.
Absolutely, yeah.
So if we look at 2030, so what would define the success of, maybe MCS and its impact? So in 5 years, how do you see it in short?
First of all, we need to wait and see how much this MCS standard is going to be adopted by the industry. And again, like to whoever is listening to this, and whoever is on CPO side, whoever is on operator side, we can only do this as an industry together, including our competitors, including CPOs, including OEMs. So it takes all of us to push this. That means operators and CPOs, like I said, need to have the courage to say, okay, we start adopting that, and we see the first push there. So that's, of course, absolutely mission critical for us in the industry to go into that direction. Then the interesting thing until 2030 now, as I think I touched upon that before, is this transition now from CCS to MCS. And there, I think what we can clearly see at this point is that these two standards will need to coexist for some years. It's not going to happen from today to tomorrow that suddenly all trucks, first of all, the electric trucks need to come. Then second of all, they won't be there with MCS at once and overnight. So what we're going to see in the next 2 to 3 years from now is this transition time. And that requires what we call also a dual strategy on all sides, a dual CCS and MCS strategy. The OEMs will need to have both plugs, so to say, on their vehicles. And the CPOs and operators, let's say, they will need to adopt MCS and CCS also both on their charging sites. This is absolutely critical because in order to make this attractive for operators and CPOs, obviously we talk about utilization. They want to make sure that their sites are being utilized. And if we wait for the MCS truck to come and we just put the MCS chargers in the ground right now, there is obviously going to be not the biggest utilization from the beginning. So this is really mission critical in next years to come to plan the charging sites. And of course, I'm speaking from a charging manufacturer side of things here, to plan the charging site accordingly, to equip your charging sites intelligently with CCS and MCS so that you can facilitate CCS charging and MCS on the same system ideally. And then what I also mentioned before, let's be smart about the available grid, about the available energy, and distribute it smartly. Let's say CCS truck comes, we charge that truck, and then MCS truck comes, and maybe it gets a bit of priority, or we intelligently allocate the power around. And this, of course, is possible through the charging infrastructure that us and competitors also put in the market at the moment. And then, of course, how can it fail potentially? Maybe that's also what you're trying to get at. Is definitely the grid side of things and the operational questions really. So from a grid side of thing, like I said, I think I touched upon it before. It's important to plan ahead and say like, okay, if this truck uptake with MCS comes, we need to be prepared. We need to have the grid capacity in place. And if not, we need to bridge it with, I'm going to throw out a couple of buzzwords now, microgrid, battery storage, of course, renewable integration. All of that needs to be thought and planned in advance location. Moving forward until 2030, it needs to be taken into consideration. And then I think one important thing is as well that us as charger manufacturers, as well as the OEMs, we need to still improve on the efficiency. Because if you think about, well, first of all, on OEM side, energy is going to be rare. We just talked about grid. So it's absolutely important to create the improved efficiency on vehicle side, and on our charger side, so to say, there's also some way to go for us as an industry to minimize the energy losses and really treat energy and power available, so to say, as a rare good that we need to really use wisely when it comes to MCS. Yeah. And then one last comment on that, also outlook on 2030. How is it going to evolve from now? I think it's what's being neglected a little bit at this point is we are starting with the trucks on MCS, and this is of course our topic today in this podcast. That's what we're talking about. But what we already see is that this is going to be the enabler for other segments to adopt MCS as well. We talk about boats or marine segment. We talk about already electric planes, and whatever happens with the trucks and however successful we are, it's going to be decisive on how successful the other segments will be and how, for example, plane electrification will move forward from here.
Absolutely, yeah. Boating. We touched upon this in the episode at EVS 38 with gentleman with Martin from Omixom, Norway. They were talking about big marine project, right, in Norway with the fjords and the electrification of boating. And for sure, you need maximum power here because it's a shift back and forth, in the planes, I haven't even thought about it, that with the MCS, well, few hours probably can power a pretty nice electric plane, for shorter hauls. Very exciting. I wanted to round off the episode by zooming a bit back on the depot, which is an extremely hot area also for us, and really going to redefine the industrialization as one of the investors in the previous episode talked about. Europe, those electrifying all those depots across Europe is massive, as you know. So what would be, according to you, the biggest operational challenges you see when scaling truck charging depots today?
Right. I think no use case at the moment is the same. It's really hard to standardize these operations, and whatever project we go in, there's a different challenge in a way, and that needs to be taken into account. I think when electrifying the depots, there's different needs, and it starts with, like you say, also operational model. On the operator side. So what shifts do they drive? Like, do they go out in the morning and go on a long haul route? Do they come back in the evening? So there's all kinds of different, let's say, specialities to different use cases. And that is, like I said, hard to be standardized. And there, I think it really needs this tailored approach from the industry and from people who take operators by the hand and really look at the let's say, at every single case of that depot. And help them electrify, and also help them rethinking their operations. Then, so if we look at diesel trucks, or we can also take buses, for example, but it's pretty much the same. They just fuel up and that's it. But of course, when thinking about operations, time for electric vehicles, electric trucks, time is money. We already touched upon that. So you need to rethink in terms of when do I charge, where do I charge, and definitely we have a need to charge while idling, right? Time is money, especially in the logistics industry. So we need to, as an industry, or the operators need to utilize each and every opportunity when the truck is idling. That could be overnight, but it can also be the truck comes back to the depot and has a quick turnover or whatever, and then needs to be charging. And then the last thing that comes to mind here when we talk about depots is obviously charging infrastructure, also for electric trucks or electric buses. They require space. So before you just parked your vehicles in a row, we fueled them up and that's it. So now obviously this new challenge comes into place. Like, where do we put the charging infrastructure? And if we put the charging infrastructure, we're sacrificing space. So here we see a huge push now in the industry also for new innovations. For example, the charging cable coming from above. Through different technologies. We see that for bus charging, for example, with the pantographs already, but for trucks, obviously that's not possible because they don't use pantograph. So this space-saving infrastructure is very interesting and very crucial. And if we look at depots, for example, where trucks also load and unload, then it becomes even more interesting because there's just no space between loading docks to put a charger into the ground. And this is where we still need that technology push still for better solutions to serve that charging while idling. Yeah.
And that's a challenge that is really being solved. It's an anecdote. If you ask to create, an AI tool to create images, short videos, or images of a depot e-truck, it's getting quite confused on where to put the chargers. I must say, right? To create that, it gets some pretty funky pictures with the, kind of making the truck smaller to make some space, or chargers completely mixed up with the unloading bay. There's some space management, and of course, grid management, which you mentioned many times, is definitely also, of course, biggest challenges in the depot. So Kempower focuses on charging hardware, power electronics, mainly. So where do you see the biggest opportunities for collaboration for a company like yours with specialized software vendors as they appear within load, energy, scheduling, grid management?
It's a really good question. And to be honest, I think all the market players are asking themselves the same question at the moment, because we see, I think, as a collective, this shift towards complete solutions. I was just saying before, you need to take customers also on this electrification journey by the hand. It's not enough to say, here's your truck, or here's your charger, or here's your software. It all needs to function together. And especially I think we have figured it out pretty much for electric buses in the last year. So that was very interesting to see also how software ecosystems started to be integrated into that operational requirements of the operator, basically. And for truck, that's a complete new challenge, right? there's a lot of new challenges now when it comes to existing systems. Like, how do you combine dispatching with your charging schedules, etc. So a lot of open questions. Plus, of course, the grid side of things, and I think that's what you guys are obviously very strong in. So bottom line is, we need to work together, all of us, in order to make this happen. We supply strong charging hardware, we have a backend as well, but obviously there's things and gaps that we just can't cover. And then it's absolutely important to have the implementation partners together with us, together with you as a software supplier, work together and give this, let's say, 60-degree solution to the operator. Otherwise, I think it's not going to work in the next couple of years.
Yeah, exactly. We're all going to fail collectively. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I hope we'll see, just like today, we have some great projects, FlexiCharge with Kempower on many sites across the Nordics for different CPOs where we are joint supplier working hand in hand to deliver the solution. I look forward to seeing many depots in the future across Europe, right? Hopefully we can collaborate on delivering those solutions so we can really electrify Europe. Yeah.
Likewise. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Moritz, on that note, thank you very much. Wishing you a great afternoon, and looking forward to keeping in touch and seeing what's next on the roadmap at the Kempower, right?
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much, Christophe. It's a small industry. I'm pretty sure we'll see each other at some event or conference.
We will, for sure, yeah. All right. Take care.
Okay. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. And that's a wrap on Megawatt Charging, MCS, and the mighty shift that's about to electrify the world of trucking. Big thanks to Moritz from Kempower for a brilliant deep dive into the future of fleet electrification and for making power delivery sound cooler than most DJ sets. So, what are we walking away with? Well, first off, truck charging is no longer in the early pilot phase. It's real, it's here, and it's being taken seriously by logistics operators, energy providers, and policymakers across Europe and beyond. The difference now? There's actual momentum. Second, MCS, the Megawatt Charging System, is about more than just bigger cables and faster plugs. It's a necessary evolution for the long-haul electric transport to even be viable. Without charging speeds that match the operational tempo of freight and logistics, the transition just doesn't happen. Third, CCS isn't disappearing overnight. There's going to be a messy but necessary coexistence period where fleets will straddle both standards while the infrastructure, vehicles, and regulations catch up. It's like that awkward time when you had both USB-A and USB-C cables in your bag, except with 40-ton trucks. Fourth, and this one's key, MCS isn't just a hardware story. It's about building intelligent, scalable, grid-aware infrastructure. If you're electrifying a truck depot, you're not just plugging in chargers. You're orchestrating energy flows, managing load, planning for peak pricing, and working around grid constraints that, let's face it, weren't designed for a parking lot full of megawatt-level EVs. So yes, hardware gets the headlines, but the orchestration behind the scenes, the silent symphony of load balancing, local control, energy optimization will also be crucial to the success of e-trucking. If you're a CPO, a fleet operator, or a grid nerd with a love for logistics, this is your moment. The future is not just arriving, it's reversing into a loading dock near you. Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow the show, share the episode with your team, your friends, your network, and maybe reflect on how far we've come from charging smartphones to charging semis. Until next time, stay smart, stay scalable, and remember, the road to electrification doesn't just run on batteries. It runs on brains. Bye for now.